Hey there. So, what makes this book so special to me? What is so unique about poems? What is the insight that I feel when I talk about poems? So, there was this time when I would spend time hugging the trees, standing in standing below the tree, playing with the roots. The banyan trees have huge roots, and it was during my school time I used to observe how a single tree shelters so many things in the ecosystem. And one of my favorite subjects for study was the nature. I used to be a part of eco club, and there were times when I would take those small weeds, pluck them and see the roots, and it used to have that white color nitrogen knots. I used to wonder, it used to look like small snowballs or thermocol balls. And I used to wonder what makes nature create such a beauty within the soil. What is so unique about soil? What is that amalgamation that happens to generate something so uniquely designed? What cooks inside the soil? What exactly happens? And there were times I was very scared. Even now I'm very scared of earthworms. I really don't know why I am scared, but the fact that it's uh, it's very unstable, like the way it just keeps going, it gives me a lot of fear. Even now I have to accept, but I have tried a lot of times to make sure that I touch it, or during my sessions of gardening I have spent a lot of time trying to recover myself from the fear of earthworms. But I think the fear all the way crawls back to reptiles also. Uh, there were times where I was very scared of lizards, and I'm not scared when I know it. I'm very scared when I don't know that it is there around and I happen to either go to that place, or it just, these days I see lizards are there all over the floor also in certain places. And I used to get very scared because I didn't want to trip on them. And I think that's the same fear I have with earthworms also. I'm afraid that the way we pluck out the roots or the soil, anyway, it get affected, will it break by a mistake? And that was my biggest fear. I did not want to cause any harm to any of the existing natural species. I used to feel that uh, everybody deserves to live as much as I do. And how would I feel if, say, I am here and someone comes and just, I'm busy doing something, and someone comes and just takes me out and puts me somewhere else. So that used to be the thought I used to have when it comes to uh, gardening or uh, playing with the soil. I just didn't want to disturb it, I just wanted to leave it alone. And it even came to the things like plucking flowers. And I used to feel that, okay, there is devotion, let's keep that aside, but those flowers look so beautiful when they are on the plants. And I did not want to be the reason to separate that flower from its original ecosystem. And I used to feel afraid that uh, I used to feel like, okay, I'm just plucking a flower and keeping it in God's feet, the the pleasure that I get is max to max say one day, however it's going to dry. Why shouldn't it be where it belongs, where it is originated? So that used to be my thought. And when I was small, there was one situation that happened where one day my brother brought home a squirrel, and he was very small that time. He loved playing with the uh, nature so much. Uh, and I remember the moment my mother saw that he brought home a squirrel, she was very sad, and she happened to tell him that why did you bring it home? Now its family will not accept it because we humans have touched it. And we both were almost devastated because we did not know what this whole thinking was. But the squirrel, the beautiful tail, the three lines on its back, and the way it ran around was also beautiful, but we did not really know that we should not be bringing it home. And my brother was very sad because by now he had a lot of fond memories of playing with the squirrels, and I still remember his face falling down out of sad shame, bitterness, as if we did something so cruel, and he cried. That was the first time I saw my brother breaking down for the nature. And I felt there were so many things in this situation. That tender heart which loved another species, and the species almost feeling homeless, and the confusion in our minds as to what exactly do we do. Like you say, if it's a human, we can actually go back and leave someone, talk to someone, convince them, okay, please accept this being back. But a squirrel, how do we find out where its family is and why it won't accept? Is it because our touch is what made it impure? And that guilt almost ate us up. And I remember for the next few days, we were so afraid to touch almost anything in the nature. And yeah, so there was one more incident that I'm remembering of. That was uh, there is something called Ratnagandhi flowers. I don't know how many of you know it, but that's what it is called in our language. It comes in different colors. It comes in orange color, red color, and white color, also cream of white color. And those are almost seen in any households in the place I grew up. The place I grew up was a small village, and everybody was having a backyard, a farm, almost a lot of produce like mangoes, uh, jackfruits happened in the backyard, and that is what was consumed. And I remember this particular tree with flowers has a, a seed kind of, thing. And I would take the seeds and keep eating. And for some strange reason, my family called me a bird always. They would call me as Pakshi in my language, because the story goes that when I was a small child, you can see my little finger, it's very small, and if somebody is found sleeping, it seems I would put a flower in their ears, and I would with my ears push it deep down, and they would not know that I have done something, and uh, it would get dried, and they had to come to my father to get it removed. And that's why everybody called me as Pakshi. Pakshi means a bird. A bird is the one who does all these things, right? Yeah, so I remember eating these seeds from the tree Ratnagandhi flowers. And my brother used to tell me that, okay, now that you have eaten seeds, tomorrow morning there will be saplings coming from your ears and eyes and mouth. And I was so innocent. See, when you have an elder sibling, you actually look at the world through his eyes. You end up believing everything that he says. And I remember when that happened, I was so scared with that innocent, that blink of a face. I asked him, Anna, then how will you plant me? Where will you plant me? What about my roots? And he replied, okay, so you will have to be buried. This much, your half body has to be buried. And I was scared. And I was like, okay, now what will happen of me if I'm buried? Uh, what about me? Like, if there is tree and all that. And that's how I thought the trees originated. I never knew that a seed has to be planted in the floor ground, and it has to be watered and all that. So I used to eat these seedlings and seeds, and he would tell me, see, you destroyed one sapling, see, because of you there is no flowers today. He would tell me all that, and we would keep fighting. But yeah, these seeds are very tasty. I i have to admit, I love them even now. And now my husband finds me eating it, and he keeps saying, Pakshi is back, that Pakshi. Yeah, so these are some of my favorite incidents with nature. When we talk about soil, it's one thing to say that, okay, save soil, somebody is doing some kind of, what is it, a campaign, an awareness session. What is it to do with us? Why should we participate? What is our role in saving soil? So, as a child, this kind of memories that I had playing with the soil and growing, we would, I remember we had done a huge garden. My mother had planted so many crotons and so many vegetables, banana saplings, and so many things, papaya saplings uh, in the the house structure that we have is a chaukumalle. It's called a four. There are houses on all the four sides, and for some reason the neighbors always keep fighting, and the fight once went a little too severe, and all the plants were removed off which my mother had planted. I was in 5th standard, I think, 4th standard or 5th standard. And I don't know, the first time I saw my brother, he happened to reach that spot even before me or my mother reached. And he saw that the entire garden was destroyed. He started crying, and we didn't have a phone. We had to go to a temple, and we had to pay 2 rupees and make a call from there. And he wanted to tell my dad that something like this has happened, so please come home. And he ran all the way from our home to the temple. He was crying all the way as if a huge war has happened and there's so much death in the war field. All the beautiful plants fallen dead, and he was very sad with the cruelty, and the banana saplings were cut out. That was the first time as a child we realized that adult minds can take us to any level of insanity. And then on, we decided that we as beings should never be doing something like this to someone else. And we have constantly strived to make sure that we don't do such an inhuman act ever again. Instead, we supported the ecosystem, be it with people, be it with any kind of species in the environment. You can still meet my brother. He has the same level of compassion, but our fate, our destiny kind of separated us from that environment, and we had to move into a city. But my grandmother, both my maternal grandmother as well as my father's mother. Both of them have had cows at home. And I remember one of my favorite cow that my grandmother looked after. Her name was Gauri and Subbi. And Gauri was like the charm of our house. Uh, I remember sitting on her back, playing with her tail, and almost taking bath to her urine. And when she would deliver a baby, I would wait all the time sitting beside her. And every day my grandmother would collect the milk and give us. I was born in Saraswati nursing home, which was right in front of my home, and I had to carry that glass of milk for newborn babies in the Saraswati nursing home. It's in Bantwal. And I used to feel so good with the presence of such a ecosystem at home. And I would play with these cows, and we used to have the most tasty butter ever at home. And the fridge used to be always kept, the butter kept in the fridge, and that butter ball was like so tasty. We literally would keep stealing butter balls as a child, and I think that's why I'm still so fat and chubby all the time. And we would see that the produce of the cows, the cow dung, she would make cow dung cakes, very beautiful. I can say that even the cow dung cakes would speak Krishna, 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 that purity of the cow dung cakes. And she would smear the cow dung on the floor in the backyard. And the urine of the cow was used to mop the house. And when there is a function at home, the aura of the house is resonating because of the beautiful coconut. She would make a coconut. She would, what is it? Tie the coconut leaves in such a way that you can actually make the mantap out of it. And she would sit and take off that broom. She would make brooms out of the out of the coconut. What is it? The leaves. So they say that Kalpa Vriksha is a coconut tree, Kamadhenu is a cow, and Kalpataru, she's also called Kalpataru. So Kalpataru, Kamadhenu, what it means is that every single part of a cow, every single part of a Kalpa Vriksha, a tree, like coconut tree, every single part is for Paropakara. They say Paropakarartham idam shariram. In Sanskrit they say Paropakaraya duhanti gavaha, meaning cows give milk for Paropakara, for the benefit of others. Paropakaraya phalanti vrikshaha. The trees even bear fruits for the sake of others, or Paropakara. Paropakaraya vahanti nadyaha. Nadyaha meaning the rivers. They even flow for the sake of others. Paropakara. Then Paropakarartham idam shariram. This body, this very body, should also exist for the benefit of others or the ecosystem around. And this used to be my childhood. Many more incidents like this. I remember the backyard was so big, and we would keep beautiful pebbles on the way, and we would think that we are making a park. And my brother's cycle was that you have the trains in the park, no? So I would sit with my brother, and he would take me all over the park. And my grandmother, the moment we have, today is March 31st, right? 30th. And first is the vacation beginning for our school. So on 31st, my grandmother makes sure she puts up a jhula for us, because she knows on first बच्चा party आ रहा है मेरा घर में. My children, my grandchildren are coming. And after me, there are 7, 8 children born in my family. I would help my grandmother almost everything for these 7 children born after me. Taking care of them, giving them bath. That was my favorite because the small head, and my grandmother would, 30 30 pitti. There were songs for that. And busha, we say busha, meaning, with that small glass, you put water on that small tiny head. That cute sa skin. She would, put the child ulta on her leg, and the child keeps coming up, and she does this, and finally, after giving bath, she would rotate some water and throw it in the backside, saying that this water is for the past life of the child. And after that, she would dress the child and give that, what is it, dhoop. The children would smell like so divine. And there was that woodwards given, the grape water. And first, it had to be fed to me before giving to the other children. And when these children were draped that white color cloth, they look like a small uh, cotton candy. That's so cute of those children. And I would sit, I would take care, I would hold them in my hand. It was like I was almost a mother, more dear to these children than their own mother, because the own mother, out of the delivery pain and everything, she was given holiday. And I would do that, putting the tika, kajal, powder, and I would sing, there was that song, Ah Lillo Ma Lillo Diva Cheka Jilo Gondu Le Baba Kilo. We would say that. And I would put them in the cradle, and I would sing, I would put them to sleep. I would sleep right below the cradle, and I would make sure that till they are really asleep, I will keep singing. And I would sing, Jo Jo Shri Krishna Paramananda Nanda Gopiya Kanda Bala Mukunda Jo Jo. So this was my childhood. All I can relate is that beautiful home, lit up home with so many children playing with sand, soil, trees, wooden toys. We used to have that gurpana, we would call, with lot of, we would collect seeds, red color seeds called manjuti, and we would place them in gurpana. Gurpana is that which Sita Devi used to play when she was a small child. And so when the ecosystem is so very beautiful, what is stopping us? What is the trouble that I am facing currently is the whole city culture has drifted away the reality of the existence. What is the aspiration to go forward? I remember when there was no money at home, my grandmother would take the coconuts, she would dry the coconuts and sell that thing for boiling water to other houses, and that's how we made money. But today we talk about big business, the crores of amount that we are trying to make, lakhs of amount. There were days when 25 rupees, what my grandmother earns for one bag of that dried coconut, 150 rupees or something, that fed us for the whole month that we would stay there, because she would buy enough rice for us. And almost so many other things grew in the backyard. And she would prepare coffee on with jaggery on that uh, firewood flame. It used to be so tasty, and today I feel there is such a difference from what I am, my roots, to what I'm forced to live in the city atmosphere. Of course, many times when I go ask myself what drifted me from that, is it my karmas? What made me come into a city life? And that's when I felt that for the more dharmic things, I had to get opened up. And this was the time for me to face or know the world from a broader perspective. My separation from my childhood gave me a lot of traumas because the whole city life, there were whole new battles that I had to face. There it was about fruits, nuts, games, butter. And here it was all about religion. The battles we stayed, where we stayed was in between a Catholic community, and a lot of things was very different. I would see people eating non-veg, and the smell of it all over. I could not accept the changes. But I think somewhere down the line, the whole safe soil movement gave me a new perspective to the fact that I can relive my past. What do I need to do that? Where do I begin? What is it about the anthem that is so different? What makes it so unique? And why is this particular movement or rally for rivers, why is it so important to me? I grew up on the banks of Netravati. I played in Netravati. I know what happened with Netravati. I used to weep beside on the bank saying, Amma, who will cure you? Why have people, people pee in it, people potty in it, they throw things. And I would cry, when I would swim in the river. I would feel the purity of the water. But now I don't even. Now, of course, they have cleaned it, and our Paramapujya Sanyamendra Tirtha Swamiji has even purified the water. But just slightly before all this cleaning happened, I used to feel like, how do I even step into the water? Because there is temple in the banks. Believe me, temples do a great job of keeping the water pure in its energy. And there used to be Kalyanotsav that happens on the bank of the river. Very beautiful festivals, Deepotsav. And when I have grown, I have seen how the rivers get dried up, how it gets filled again, and what happens to the water, what it feels to dive into that water, how many times in a year she requires prayers. It's just like all of us. If we are dry, say we have so many urges, our desires, or sexual desires. Imagine if one morning all those desires have gone. What happens to us? How do we proceed? How do we survive? And that is why I felt Cauvery Calling is one of the most beautiful campaigns and rally for rivers. Why is it so important to me is a river is not just the flow of water. River is also us, because the water that we drink is what we become. 80%, 70 to 80% of our body is comprised of water. You see, that's why Tirth is energized and given, because when we drink that we feel refreshed, isn't it? When we die, we are given Ganga Jal because that's so pure. And imagine if we are drying up the rivers by industrial waste, the waste from home and everything. What are we going to survive on? What happens to the texture of our skin when it changes, when hard water or any kind of water changes? So that's why I decided to contribute for Cauvery Calling. I, along with my students, I taught Bhagavad Gita for Cauvery Calling. I did not have money, and it was almost the peak of lockdown. I could not contribute because I didn't have a stable earning myself. But with every chapter that we learnt, we felt that we were contributing something, and we were able to contribute about 24 to 25,000, that too without any financial support. I'm very proud of my students because they trusted me when I said that there is one cause I'm not going to ask you, but I'm contributing on your name. Whether you give me the money or no, I'm contributing in your name, because the beauty of the positive things that this particular cause brings to you is so immense, so deep, that I'm so selfish that my people should also get the blessings of this divine cause. And by the grace of God, by Sadhguru's blessings, I have come a long way through. It was very difficult because initially I started with 20 students, but only 2 of them completed Bhagavad Gita with me. And I don't take fees until they have actually seen a difference in their life. And these 2 students have made me so proud. Today they are very happy in their family. They chant, they teach their children, and they perform. From where they started to where they are now, I attribute all this success to the divine feet of my master, Sadhguru. Thank you for not just enlightening me, but through me, you lit the lamp in so many homes. So many flowers blossomed because of you. Be it from mantras to the explanation, I never knew I could actually teach, even speak our dharmic scriptures. The first time I heard the Mahabharata from Sadhguru, it just changed everything about me. For the first time, I knew the names of every single being in this Pindanda. There are 2 things: Brahmanda, that's the outer world, and Pindanda, that's what is inside us. For the very first time, I had a clear distinction of what exactly happens within me. It was a 13-hour session of Mahabharata. It is still available online, but that changed the whole Lakshmi. It was like a new Lakshmi born out of nowhere. The immense, intense confidence that it gave me, from sleep to wakefulness, from darkness to light. And the moment I completed the Mahabharata, within no time, Sadhguru announced a program in Bangalore, and I was initiated into Shambhavi Mahamudra. During our initiation, there were 8,000 people. It happened in that Tumkur Road, the big convention center. Shambhavi Mahamudra was intense bliss, pouring day in and day out. After this, there was not a single moment of separation I felt from Sadhguru. Anybody can talk anything. Lakshmi, why do you go to this master, that master? So many people ask me. Today you're in Art of Living, tomorrow you're here, tomorrow you're there. It's not that I am going. I would rather say the blueprint of my life is so auspicious that it takes me to fill my jholi with so much of love from the grace of masters, the great masters of my time. And I'm so lucky that I am a part of this spiritual ecosystem. I say, okay, you have found me there. Great. It's time you also learn what is the best part of each organization. Then they say there's a lot of politics. What do we do? I say, okay, even if I am existing alone, I have likes and dislikes. Politics happen even within my own mind. I am okay drinking coffee but not tea. Happens with all of us, isn't it? But did that stop you from living? No, right? We are okay going back to ourselves if we have a choice between coffee and tea, but another spiritual organization should not be doing that. How does this logic work? Okay, if it doesn't please you, be quiet. What do? At least don't disturb them. That's what I believe. If I can't be helpful, at least I will not hurt them. But if it has rung a bell within me, say for example Cauvery calling, it means to me I will participate no matter what the world talks about it, because I understand it in and out. I understand the philosophy, I have lived the philosophy, and that is exactly why I will participate. So, this is my spiritual journey of why Cauvery calling was important to me and what drove me to even participate or get started. People ask me, is Save Soil all about putting DP and making that jig? And I said, wait a moment. First, you connect back to your root. Soil comes back to our Mooladhara chakra. Mooladhara is the very base, that's where our perineum is, the genitals. This is strengthened by Panchamahabhutas. Our whole Srishti comes back to Panchamahabhutas, and that's why I intensely work with water element, fire element, the earth, ether, air, and believe me, the whole composition of our body, how we are made up of the skin, the cells, that's exactly what the soil is all about. And this soil, the moment it is pure, I told you in Brahmanda what happens is exactly what happens in the Pindanda. The moment the soil is pure, you will start seeing the difference happening in your body. We are manifesting diseases in people only because we have polluted the environment. We inhale polluted air, we drink polluted water, we have no grounding. The soil is very important because the moment you walk on soil, say even for 1 hour daily, you will see that your energy starts to get grounded. Now, when there is such a tremendous power, what is stopping us from contributing to such a beautiful cause? And what does it take for us to contribute? Okay, what is the whole purpose of the campaign? See, campaign doesn't require to be actionable right now. The first step, the goal of a campaign is to raise awareness. And awareness can all the way go back to even just giving you a reminder that this has to be done. They say that if something resonates within you for 9 times, then you are sure to act on it. And that is why it is important for us to see the visual cues, the colors, and associate it with the art forms, be it singing, be it dancing, because every time you associate, your mind gives you a trigger to work on the actions. And believe me, you are more likely to start probably gardening within the next 1 year if you are really working towards this campaign. And I am saying you this is the best thing that can happen because I have grown vegetables in my home, and Anybody came who came to my home would say that the palak I grew would taste like butter. They were so pure in energy. The plants would talk to me. There